Cabinet is on the verge of invoking the Emergencies Act. You are their window on law enforcement. You told us this earlier. Your update to Cabinet as it is deciding whether to invoke the Emergencies Act is that the police now have a plan, they've pulled it together, and that you, as the Commissioner of the RCMP, consider that plan to be workable without the authorities of the Emergencies Act. And that doesn't get delivered. Your messages don't get delivered to Cabinet when they then deliberate on the invocation of the Act. Do you appreciate the significance of that scenario?
Yes and no, because we had spoken about the fact that we had an integrated planning cell, that we were bringing together a plan, an enforcement plan to go forward. So there was talk about a plan and that a plan was in progress. I reported on that, I believe, in my previous IRG. So it wasn't a brand new concept. But yes, in fact, the fact that we now had a plan, I'm not sure if it was signed off either. As of that point, because we were having difficulty getting it signed off. We didn't realize it needed to be signed off, but I know that on that same day, like I think it was the Sunday, that would have been, I'm guessing that was the 13th. I had actually, I think, reached out to Chief Solely about signing off the plan. I'm not sure of the timing on that, but the existence of a plan was known. Just the fact that it was official or not official wasn't reported on.
Okay. Let me summarize what you're saying and then put a question to you. As I hear what you're saying, though you didn't get a chance to present either the plan or your view that the invocation of the Act would be taking place before law enforcement tools had been exhausted, even though you didn't get a chance to deliver those messages at this meeting, you feel that in general those points had been briefed up to the officials that you reported to. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because I believe in the second IRG, which was on the 12th, I had spoken about the integrated command center had been stood up, that a plan was, we brought in planners. They were in the process of doing the plan. I believe I reported on that. I'd have to see the notes though. But I didn't officially, going to your point, that, that could have, that wasn't reported, that the plan was now officially signed off or officially in place.
Okay, so acknowledging that there might have been some less precise messaging to the officials and to government before the meeting where you didn't get called, nonetheless, you appreciated the significance of those meetings that were taking place on the 13th, and you appreciated the significance, I assume, of the fact that you hadn't got a chance to give those key messages that we've looked at before. Did it occur to you that you should make sure that government was aware of your views on these points before it came to land on the invocation of the Emergencies Act?
I guess in hindsight, yeah, that might have been something significant. Honestly, there was so much information going back and forth. I'm not sure, where they were at in the invocation as such. I know they were talking about it, but it was very, very fluid. Obviously, I'm not sure if it would have changed anything in the sense that these were even, like now, I'm going to use my hindsight, the plan ended up, those authorities ended up to be useful with the plan, if I use my hindsight. Because it wasn't whether or not we would have still been looking at enforcement, but we needed ways to reduce the footprint. So we were using some of the authorities, obviously under the Ontario Emergency Act. We weren't incorporating anything on the Federal Emergency Act because it wasn't in place. But we didn't have when exactly that plan was going to start, or we knew it had to be starting in the weekdays as opposed to the weekends. So now the plan was in place and the implementation would have been the next exact when we were going to implement it.
That's fair enough. And I won't ask you to speculate or hypothesize about what might have happened if you had had an opportunity to deliver these two messages. But I think, as I understand what you've said, knowing the gravity of the issues that were facing the IRG and Cabinet on the 13th, you prepared your key messages with those 2 points, that the police services had come together with a viable plan and that you considered that there were still law enforcement tools to exhaust before emergency legislation was necessary, correct?
Yes.